Is our life destined the moment we are born, or do we actually have the free will to decide our own destiny? This question is heavily debated for thousands of years, but no conclusive answer has been reached. Predeterminism is the belief that the past, present, and the future are already set in stone, either by God or fate, and this includes human action. So, everything that we do, think, or the outcome of a situation, it has already been pre-established, and nothing we do could influence it. This implies that someone or something has already planned all the course of actions that has been taken and will take place. By subscribing to such a notion, we then view our action and free will as nothing but an illusion. Thus, every decision we have made in the past is not of our own volition, but by a higher power that had already determined such a course of actions for us. Albert Einstein, who is recognized as one of the most influential and brilliant scientists of all time. His belief in determinism may stem from his work in theoretical physics, as he believes that everything, from the smallest particle in the universe, has already been predetermined. He believed such a notion as to express his skepticism about the indeterministic aspects of quantum mechanics, which was gaining popularity during his lifetime. Although this is not directly meant for religious or philosophical purposes, it does shine some light on the question of whether everything in the universe has been set since the beginning of time, which puts the concept of free will into question. Thomas Hobbes, an English philosopher that is best known for his book Leviathan, where Hobbes presents the concept of social contract and argues that civil peace and social unity are best achieved by the establishment of the Commonwealth through social contract. In this work, Hobbes also argues that humans are naturally evil, wicked, and selfish, and in the absence of government or societal rules, or what he calls as the Leviathan, we will inadvertently revert back to our natural state of solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. In this human natural state, we are bound to kill one another due to competition, distrust, and glory. The first two is that for the purpose of self-preservation, as resources are scarce, and placing too much trust on another human being may result in betrayal or eventual death. As for glory, according to Hobbes, humans are glory-seeking creatures, so it is within our nature to desire to dominate other human beings to gain their respect. Other than glory-seeking for the purpose of gaining others' respect, this behavior could also be explained through the self-preservation paradigm, as being feared by others provides us with certain comfort and access to other resources and mating partners. So in this state, no moral or legal obligation could limit the human desire for self-preservation, as we are in the state of war of all against all. In another word, we are free, as human liberty is nothing but the freedom to act in a way to preserve ourselves regardless of the legal or moral obligations. So everyone is equal in a sense, as we all have the right to kill, rob, or subdue another human being. On the other hand, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a Genevan philosopher, writer, and composer, in his most influential works, Discourse on Inequality and the Social Contract, argued that humans are born naturally good, as we possess innate goodness and compassion upon birth. Rousseau also argues that, although we seek self-preservation, we also seek to preserve ourselves in a way that does the least harm to others, as we are conscientious creatures that are not only motivated by our self-interest. Thus, humans are not born evil, but are corrupted by society and government, as there are limited resources, which require conflict to gain those important resources for one's own interest and survival. This is in contrast to that of Thomas Hobbes, as Rousseau glorified the idea of noble savage, which is the character that is uncorrupted by society. The noble savage is depicted as a pure and virtuous person throughout history and in plays, which Rousseau believes to be the natural state of humans. Man is born free, but is everywhere in chains, said Rousseau. This depiction of the uncorrupted is Rousseau's view of man enjoying a natural and noble existence until civilization slaves him and corrupts him morally. Rousseau contended that society, with its institutions, laws, and social hierarchies, corrupts the innate goodness of individuals as we become obsessed with vanity and the praise of our peers. We then go against our nature of merely seeking to survive through eating, sleeping, and mating to desire more, because social construct has made such an achievement valuable. These are the fundamental views regarding nature or nurture, and these just explore the natural state of being without society, government or law to abide by. So then, is our behavior truly one of that of our own? Or is it naturally instilled within us? Or is it a behavior that is shaped by society and its many arbitrary social constructs? What differs us from animals then? Is it our ability to reason at a higher level? But our innate behavior seems to bring about an alternate explanation, as if our behavior is predetermined by nature. So in a sense, our life is also predetermined the moment we are born, based on those predetermined characteristics. Carl Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who is considered to be one of the most influential figures in modern psychology. His work has been influential within the fields of psychiatry, literature, philosophy, psychology, and others. He also founded analytical psychology, which was coined by Jung to describe the research into the new empirical science of the psyche. One of his profound findings is his theory on the collective unconscious, which is in conflict with Freud's view on the mind. Before exploring Jung's collective unconscious, we must first dive into Sigmund Freud's view. Sigmund Freud believed that the unconscious mind is the product of personal experience. Freud divides the mind into three stages: the conscious, the preconscious, and finally the unconscious. The conscious mind is all that one is aware of, such as our thoughts and perception. The preconscious are things that we are not actively conscious about, but could easily bring into consciousness. For example, we are not conscious of what we had for a meal yesterday, but we could bring it into consciousness by recalling it. Freud's view on the unconscious mind is central to his theory of psychoanalysis. Feelings, thoughts, urges, desires, hopes, and memories that are outside of our conscious awareness make up the unconscious mind. This reservoir of emotions within our unconscious mind is usually unpleasant, unacceptable things such as pain, anxiety, and conflict. It also includes our primitive desires and impulses that are never allowed within our conscious mind, as it is considered as irrational, emotional, and has no concept of reality. In general, Freud views the unconscious mind as an important aspect of ourselves that governs much of our behavior. For instance, Freud found that some of his patients did not acknowledge some events or desires as they were deemed too frightening or painful, so it was locked away deep in their subconscious mind. We all have thoughts that we do not wish to acknowledge, as to bring it into consciousness is an act that defies who we truly are. We would like to believe that we are in absolute full control of ourselves. But why do such thoughts come into our consciousness from time to time, even though such thoughts would have never appeared before? Feeling of anger in situations where we normally do not feel such an emotion, distress patterns in romantic relationships that we never seem to overcome, or unhealthy habits that we continue to indulge in. These are all the work of the unconscious mind, according to Freud. If much of our daily actions seem to be in the hand of the unconscious mind, is then our actions are out of our own volition, or merely the action of the unconscious mind, which we have no control over? Back to Carl Jung. The collective unconscious, as Jung puts it, is the work of nature and not of one's own experience. The deep-seated beliefs such as spiritual belief, sexual desire, and life and death instinct are all the work of the collective unconscious that we inherited from our ancestors. Due to ancestral experience, all humans, according to Carl Jung, are born with the collective unconscious that is full of shared knowledge and imagery. Jung distinguishes universal archetypes as the form of expression of the collective unconscious. These are patterns of behaviors or thinking, symbols, signs that we inherited from our ancestors. Archetypes such as anima, animus, hero, persona, self, shadow, trickster, and wise old man are all the universal archetypes that are innate, unlearned, and hereditary. Jung rejected the notion that humans are born as a blank slate, and that our personal experience and environment is what shapes our mind and how we behave. He argues that it is the archetypes that are responsible for our innate and instinctive behavior. There are 4 main types of Jungian archetypes. The persona is the different masks that we wear during social interactions. Different social situations require us to put on different masks. Who we are with our family is not the same as who we are with friends or at work. This persona differs from person to person, culture to culture, and our environment. But it serves one purpose, which is to imitate in a socially acceptable way in order to hide who we truly are behind the mask. Light and dark. These are the 2 sides that Jung believes that all humans possess. Darkness or the shadow is what we repress as it represents our natural impulses, such as selfishness, sexual aggression, and greed. This is unacceptable to society and ourselves, so we hid it deep within us, in our unconscious mind. This archetype is associated with either male or female, father or mother. These are the ideal type of the opposite gender. For the man, anima is the ideal image that is connected with the mother, or the ideal woman, or the feminine side of a man that he tries to suppress. While for woman, animus is the ideal man, or the father, or the masculine personality that she tries to suppress. The self is the unique character that all humans have. Here, ego gives rise to the conscious and the unconscious self. The individuality of every person is shaped through their personal experience, so no 2 people are the same. The individuation occurs when everything within us is operating in harmony, and we unite to become one. So, similar to Thomas Hobbes and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who have explored human nature as inherently evil or good, Jung believes in the innate and inherent state of humans through his universal archetypes. Jung also believes that the similarity of the world's religion, morals, ethics, and code of conduct could explain the collective unconscious, as these beliefs and set of behavior may stem from inherited unconsciousness. This also explains the striking similarity of myths and legends across time and cultures. If much of our actions is determined by inherent behavior, is our life then not within our free will? Is everything we do, think, or how we react to things is set in stone by the collective unconscious? As Carl Jung pointed out, religions across the world seem to share certain traits through the collective consciousness, and one of those things is the idea of our life being destined the moment we are born. Although I refuse to believe in the idea of God or an omnipotent power entity that exists, such a concept of fate, destiny, and divine will is one that is intriguing and complex to explore. For example, in Christianity, the concept of predestination is one that is a theological notion that God's foreknowledge, sovereignty, and omnipotence has predetermined the course of events, including individual salvation. So, everything has been willed by God. It primarily originates from the writings of early Christian theologians like Augustine of Hippo, and later theologians such as John Calvin. This, of course, is in contrast to what we believe as free will. If everything is willed by the Almighty Being already, do we really have control of our life? Is our action, regardless of whether it is good or bad, the decision that we intentionally take, or has it already been decided by God? On the other hand, there are others that advocate the idea that free will and determinism could coexist. Although determinism supports the notion that our thoughts, feelings and actions have already been decided by nature, past events, or a higher power, free will is quite the opposite of such a belief. Free will pertains to the ability to make our own choices and decisions, and so the outcome of such decisions is within certain control. For example, being born in a poor environment does not determine that one becomes a thief, but it is more likely that one would take that path. However, not everyone who is born in such a predicament turns out a certain way as one expects based on their circumstances. So determinism and free will is not mutually exclusive, but a complement to each other. For the humanistic psychologists Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers, freedom is not only possible, but also necessary as a human being, as this freedom allows for self-actualization, which is what distinguishes humans from animals. So in essence, being human is equivalent to being an animal with free will. Whether or not our behavior or destiny is determined by nature, or is nurtured by our environment, or if our life is already predetermined even before we are born, there is no denying the fact that many of us wish to believe in determinism. Free will allows us to have the freedom to make endless decisions, but it comes with a cost. The cost is responsibility. Our actions and decisions will have consequences, and if we are in absolute control of our decisions, then we must also be responsible for the outcome that comes with it. Erich Fromm, a German-American social psychologist and psychoanalyst, in his book The Fear of Freedom, argues that, although freedom is a fundamental human desire, it is also a cause for our anxiety and insecurity. People fear the responsibility that they have to bear when the outcome of their decision is not as what they had hoped. Thus, when individuals are confronted with the responsibility and choices that come with freedom, they may experience a sense of isolation, anxiety, and a desire to escape from the burden of self-determination. So as a coping mechanism, some may conform to social norms, submitting to authoritarian figures, or engaging in destructive behaviors, or in our case, the belief in determinism, as a way to detach ourselves from the responsibility of our actions. In reality, many individuals hold nuanced positions on this issue. Some actions may be influenced by external factors and past experiences, while others may involve conscious, self-determined choices. The question of whether our lives are predetermined remains a subject of ongoing philosophical debate.